All right, this is going to start a new list, isn't it? Anyway, this is a semi-rant about why not? Okay, why have you not switched to EVs already? Is basically what this rant's about. And I'll try to deal with the ones that I know about. I mean, the issues, right? And then we'll go from there. Anyway, sorry, it's just sometimes it's just like, why? Okay, just food for thought. And as always, if this is a subject that's not for you, feel free to tune out. That's okay. It's not for everybody. Okay, onward, upward. Okay, so some people talk about, oh, electric cars are so expensive. Well, okay, fine. Tesla slashed the prices a lot over the past year, and other EV makers have had to follow suit to some extent. All right, so to not necessarily pick on my daughter, but so they were looking for a Subaru. So I looked at the price of Subarus. So the Subaru, a brand new Subaru Ascent, I guess it is about $40,000. Okay, a brand new Tesla Model 3. Granted, it's rear-wheel drive. That car is around $38,000. Okay, just to be fair, I'm only talking about the price of the vehicle itself. Okay? Now, currently the Model 3, as I understand it, is not eligible for the tax credit. So the $38,000 is $38,000. Now, if you lease it, they'll give you a credit that will bring you down there. Okay? If you're a leasing person, why are you not leasing a Model 3? Okay? Whatever. Let's see. What do I have? Oh, so that's for new cars. So, maybe 38,000 is too much for you. Okay. What about a used Model 3? Okay. So those go quickly, right? But what I'm talking about is you go to the Tesla website, look at inventory, look at used Model 3. From time to time, they show up with a $20,000 or $21,000 car. Now, it's used, yes. It's probably 5-6 years old. I'll give you that. But right around $21,000 for a car that should be expected to last easily another 50-60,000 miles. Actually, it's much more than that, but the battery warranty will last. There's a warranty on the battery and the motor. Those warranties will last you another 5 years or so. Check when you buy, and if you buy it used from Tesla, they'll give you, even if the regular warranty is worn out, they will give you a 1-year, 10,000 mile warranty covering all the basic stuff. Okay? I don't know how you can beat it. Yes, you can buy used somewhere else. And actually, one of my friends, her father's in the car business. They found a used Model 3. She didn't tell me how much, but I can kind of guess. At the time, used Teslas were going for 30 or maybe even 25 if you're lucky. I think they got under 25,000. Okay? And now that car would be under 20,000. Okay, so there's that. Okay? So don't tell me about the cost. And those of you who drive around those Ford F-150s where you spend $80,000, $90,000, come on. Are you serious? I don't know. Whatever. Now, granted, a Ford F-150 Lightning, I forgot what the low-end price was. Starts somewhere around 60. I think. So it's somewhat comparable for some ways, but I don't know. I'm not a truck person. I don't really pay that close attention to truck stuff. I mean, it's interesting when it's on a YouTube video, but would I don't know where I would park it. Yes, my driveway's big enough to park a truck, but I couldn't put it in the garage. It's just too long. Okay, whatever. Peace and harmony. That's fine. Okay, so some of you may not care what a Tesla cost. Of course, you go to Tesla.com and look it up yourself, but I get it. Some of you may not want to. So you may go to your Chevy dealer or your Ford dealer or your Toyota dealer. Okay. And, you may let the dealership tell you what's important, what's not. Okay, fine. That's, if that's the way you want to do it, that's the way you want to do it. For a very simple comparison, I tried to compare a Ford Mustang Mach-E, although I couldn't really find anything to compare it to at Ford dealership. So I fall back to comparing it to a Tesla Model Y. And it's getting somewhat close, although it's still more expensive. For Chevy, I mean, they have the Blazer, okay, and I'm sure the trim levels aren't adequate, but the closest thing I could compare it to is a Trailblazer, which was a gas vehicle, and yes, their EV is more expensive. So I have a question for you, and that is, if they're telling you that their vehicle is just as good as a Tesla, but it costs more than a Tesla and it costs more than a gas car, what's holding you back? Go to Tesla. Go try Tesla. Just try it. Come on. Come on. Okay, whatever. I get it. I mean, I'm it's not for everybody. Okay. Would you guys with Toyota? Yeah. The hybrid kings, yes. Okay. They do have an electric car. It's BZ4X. It's what some people in the automotive industry call a compliance car. Can it go, what does it go, 250 miles, something like that? So it's decent range. But the problem is, you DC fast charge it once and then you're done for the day. It won't take DC fast charging anymore for the rest of the day. At least that's what I heard before. So the BZ4X is not a very good electric car. And for those of you who like Subaru, the Solterra is the same car as the BZ4X. And then Lexus has a Lexus branded BZ4X. I mean, this is not a car I would wish on anybody except those of you who can't find a different way. But even you don't really deserve it. It's just you're not willing to put in the time and the research to find out. So, yes, it takes a certain amount of research, a certain amount of looking around. Many places have, what did they call it? Drive Electric Day. Okay, and I think that's sometime in October. So it's an opportunity to go see actual electric cars, talk to the owners, and find out what it's like. And I tend to go to yeah. I started out with the one in San Antonio because that's the one from the Tesla Owners Club that they suggested. And even when they had other ones in Austin, I still went to San Antonio. But okay, whatever. There are various opportunities to go find out more. Now, if you live in the central Texas area and you need help in just seeing what a Model 3 or Model Y is, I'm more than happy to help you out. I mean, it's about sharing information, right? Okay, anyway, there you are. So all the traditional car makers, at least a lot of them, are not exactly pro EV. Okay? Yes, they're going to sell you a gas car. I hope if you buy a gas car, that's exactly what you wanted to get. And you can remember that when gas prices go up later. Okay? Onward, upward. Okay, I'm just thinking through what have I forgotten? All right, so range. Oh my goodness, range. So how far have I gone? Trips. So the trip I'm on, I have driven 1,807 miles to this point. Only electric, no gasoline, no being picked up by a tow truck or a trailer and transport somewhere. All electric. If you can't make it 1,807 miles, come on. Okay, and then the cost. Well, the cost where I've added up so far, one day I was $2 cheaper than it would be to use gas, and one day it would have been $1 cheaper, and that's for a car averaging 25 miles per gallon. Okay, so I didn't go back and do it for my Jetta. My Jetta was a TDI, so it used diesel. I haven't looked at what it would be for that, but that's an edge case, so to speak. Okay, what else? Okay, so there are those of you who talk about, well, I can't take trips in it. Well, let's face it, most people fly if they're going more than 400 or 500 miles anyway. So what are we talking about? On the other hand, yes, I like to drive. Oh yes, I love to drive. In fact, when I was up in North Carolina, I was on the 4th day of what's essentially a 1-week trip. Okay? So comparing the cost of using superchargers, which admittedly are more expensive than charging at home. Comparing the cost of supercharging my car to what you would use in a car getting 25 miles per gallon, they were pretty close to the same price. Okay? So if you use the $500 of gas in a day, what? That's not right. 120? Maybe $120 of fuel each day. I was using about the same amount. Whatever that is. So if your car gets 25 miles per gallon, how much you're paying for gas is about equal to how much I was paying for electrical energy. Okay? So I'll give you that. Now, turn the tables when I'm just driving around the Central Texas area and I'm charging at home, I'm only paying 11 cents per kilowatt hour. How much are you still paying for gas? It's still $3.09, right? The gas price doesn't change if you're just driving around town. Now, granted, gas is a bit cheaper in Central Texas compared to someplace like North Carolina. I'll give you that. Or especially up in someplace like Massachusetts or California. Okay? There's that part of it. All right, so now we're getting to, say you are taking a multi-day trip. What do you do for overnight? Do you rent a hotel? Yeah, I don't. Don't have to. Now, is it nice to wake up in the morning and take a shower before you start your trip? Yes. Or to take a shower before you go to sleep? Yeah, I'll give you that. But I stop at rest stops. And because my car's not a nice car, I can run the air conditioning or the heating overnight. No problem. Yes, we'll use energy, yes. But I don't have to worry about carbon monoxide poisoning or any of that kind of stuff. Okay? So there's that part. Camp mode, it's actually pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, so I've already covered the car cost. So, yes. Oh, I had to have a modelless Plaid. Okay, yes. That car cost $60,000. Or was it 70? I've forgotten exactly. That is a more expensive car. Yes, no doubt about it. Do you really need it? No. Get a Model 3 Performance. It's much cheaper. I'm sitting in a used Model 3 Performance from 2020. I paid $40,000 for it. Yeah. Is that a bit pricey compared to other cars? Yes, compared to other EVs or other Teslas. But it's plenty strong. Let's see what I got. 3.1 seconds for 0 to 60 time. Yes. Bring almost any car you want to bring down. I mean, not that I'm a drag racer. Don't get me wrong. But at least on paper, I'd be more than happy to compare our times. I've done that. So I used to have a 1976 Pontiac Firebird. I looked at the 0 to 60 time, and I think it was actually a 400 or whatever car that they were pulling the time from. Oh, comparing those times, this car is in a different county by the time the old Firebird is even halfway through that 0 to 60. Wow. Okay. There's not much comparison there. So anyway, the other question that I'm thinking of is convenience. You know, what's that? It's not convenient to have to charge up my car. Oh my goodness. All right, to be fair to you, I don't drive 500 miles without taking a stop ever. I don't. Even when I had my Jetta. When I had my Jetta, I would stop at a rest stop every hour. Okay? It helps to get out, walk around, keep you more alert, which makes you a safer driver. Okay. But it's not convenient because it's going to take me 2 hours to charge up every time I stop, and I have to stop every hour. No. Okay. Granted, I'm stopping somewhere between 100 and 140 miles. Yes. Okay, I'll give you that. Is there a more efficient? There's probably a more efficient way to do it. I just haven't experimented that far. But, I mean, what? Okay. So people ask me, and I usually tell them 20 minutes. 20 minutes will get me 120 to 140 miles down the road. Okay? And I'm driving a 2020. Our car's going to get more efficient or quicker to charge as time moves on? Yes. The new 2024 Tesla Model 3 long range. Yes, it has a China battery in it. But that one feels almost as sporty as this car. But with that new battery, it charges as fast. I think it could actually go further. So things are improving there. Okay. Whatever. Like I said, if you're one of those people who don't have to stop for a bathroom break, can drive 500 miles straight through without ever stopping, yes, an EV may not be right for you. Wait, what? Oh, my Jetta could only do 450 miles of range from 100% to 0%. So I couldn't even drive 500 miles. So come on. Be more serious. Okay? So one of the concerns some people voice, and some people will get on whatever platform it is they get on and say, but the battery's going to die in 2 years. You have any scientific evidence backing that up? I'd like to hear it. I think many people in the market would like to hear factual statements. Do you have a factual statement? Okay, let me give you a factual statement. The car I'm sitting in right now is a Tesla Model 3 Performance, made January 2020. So it's over 4 years old. The battery has not been replaced. The motors still work just fine. Okay, so what are you talking about? Okay, on top of that, there is a website called Recurrent Autos, I guess it is, that will hook up to your car and do a battery life check. I'm well over 90% battery. And that's fairly common for a car this age, this type. Okay? So I'm not about to run out of life in my battery. It's not about to fall off a cliff. Come on, man. And part of that is the Tesla engineering and experience advantage. Like I said, there's a reason why I bought Tesla. And there it is right there. Or that's part of it, actually, I should say. All right. So the Tesla cooling system. So the big problem with batteries is if they get too hot, they tend to die quicker. Okay. So, for example, if you have a Nissan Leaf, those batteries are air cooled. So if you live in a hot climate, the battery's not likely to live quite anywhere near as long. On the other hand, a Model 3 in Central Texas shouldn't have much problem at all. Now, if you're in Phoenix, Arizona, the story might be slightly different. I don't know. I don't have experience with that one. But okay. All right. So some of you might say, oh, but there's going to be so much maintenance. What maintenance? No, seriously, what maintenance? Look at the maintenance schedule. See, tell me what maintenance. Okay, here's a maintenance I'll admit to you. The cabin air filter should be replaced every 2 years. Gee, does your gas-powered car have a cabin air filter? Chances are it does. I'd be very surprised if it doesn't. Okay. Windshield wipers. Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, I have to replace those. Does your gas-powered vehicle have windshield wipers? So same difference, right? Tires. Okay. Some people have expressed concerns over tire wear. Yes, if you go out hot rodding your car, you'll burn down the tires. That's true. If you drive it in a more reasonable fashion, I mean, my Model Y has plenty of life in the tires. It already has 40,000 miles on that car. My car is this car almost has $20,000 on 20,000 miles on my performance tires. They're Pirelli, what are those? P0s. Okay. They're performance tires. Okay. So let me counter with everything. Okay. So let's talk about oil changes, shall we? I don't have an engine. I don't have engine oil. Yeah. Do you have an engine in your ICE car? Yes, by definition, you have an engine. You have to change your oil how often? In my Jetta, it was every 10,000 miles, which was pretty far. Most cars, they usually recommend around 4,000 or 5,000 miles, right? So just on this trip I made up to North Carolina and to Florida and back, that was a 4,000-mile trip. That's practically an oil change, isn't it? For you ICE guys. Not for me. Now, I will give you that my transmissions, and I think the motors have cooling oil in them. Yes. So there is a capability to change that oil, but it's kind of like in an automatic transmission, you don't change the oil, you don't change the fluid, right? So yeah, there's nothing, you don't normally change that. So many of you in Central Texas are more like truck guys. I gotta have a truck. Otherwise, I'm not a real man. What if I drive by a sofa? I need to be able to pick it up and put it in the back of my truck. Well, first of all, how often does that happen? Okay. Although admittedly, I got a table in front of my house right now that it's just old and it's essentially junk. But somebody driving by might say, like, that'd work perfectly in my house. And that's why it's out in front of my house. It's free, whoever comes and takes it. Okay? I get it. But if I had a pickup, I'd have to park it outside. It won't fit into my garage. So like the hailstorm that just went through Marble Falls, not that far away from us here in Lago Vista, it would have been all hammered. Okay? Whatever. So, for those of you who bought a 2024 Ford F-150, no, I'm sorry, I don't remember the levels. Was it Lariat, King Ranch? I don't know. Say you spent $80,000 for it. You could have bought it. And so the question to you guys is, how much is gas? Oh, what? Oh, you bought diesel? Okay. Yeah. How much does the diesel cost per gallon compared to how much gas cost? Okay. Whatever. Now, on the other hand, the Ford F-150 has the Lightning as well. You could have went electric. Oh, that gets 2 miles per kilowatt hour compared to me getting 4 miles per kilowatt hour in my car. Okay, so there's that part. All right, so there is a select group of you, and you know who you are. You're one of those guys driving around in a truck or some vehicle like that has almost no muffler, makes lots of noise, and so on. And I get it. You can't prove your manhood unless you're making noise. On the other hand, how much are you paying for gas? Okay, I'll give you that. My car doesn't make much noise at all. Okay, although some cars do have that option. It makes noise. Well, it sounds fake, but whatever. Okay, did I cover the grid in my rant? Okay, I'm at Dillon, South Carolina. You see the two big transformers here. The wires run up to this pole. So I don't think the electric company would put this in if they couldn't provide the power. And tying that together, the South Carolina Welcome Center had a lot of lights. Although there were newer lights. There were the LED lights. So it's kind of a mixed bag, right? I mean, the people I've heard who make some sense have basically said, if we're to convert every vehicle on the road to EV, or let's just say every passenger car to EV, no, the grid couldn't handle it at this moment. But the grid is constantly evolving, saying it, well, they can't possibly hit. What's going to happen in 5 years? Who knows? I mean, it should be able to handle it by that time, right? One would hope. Okay. So I tend to take a more optimistic viewpoint of this, and that is the grid's growing into it. When we lived in Florida many years ago, we had a 9-acre spread. We had some horses and stuff like that. It used to be a flower farm, I think. Anyway, so we had this acreage, and the city needed to put in a power substation out by where we were. Actually, that house, the property we lived on, is now Walmart out on Do you even call it Road 60 anymore? I don't know. I think 20th Street. Something like that. Anyway, so we were pretty far out west of town. And yes, everything's going up around there, so they needed that power station. So there you go. The power stations keep growing. There tends to be more and more solar generation. There tends to be more and more wind generation. Texas actually leads the nation in both of those categories, surprisingly. The oil and gas state leads the nation in those categories. So, yes, it can be done. And the way I look at it is there's always trade-offs, right? If you don't have to produce so much gasoline anymore, you save energy on breaking down the oil into gasoline. And same thing with diesel. And whatever else we make with all that stuff. Okay, whatever. So saying, yes, right now at this moment, you're right. Okay. What was it? It was 2 years ago, right? When they started talking about COVID, it was like, oh, what? And all of a sudden it was lockdown time. Yeah, I was driving school buses at the time. So they locked us down. No more school bus. No more work. I mean, there was other stuff we could do, but there was that part. Okay? So saying that at any one moment something's not possible, okay, fine. What about in the future? Anyway, there's that rant. You guys, well, I've been driving EVs for 2 years now. Have I had some issues? Yeah, sure. Have I had places that were overwhelmed with Teslas? Yes. But whatever. It doesn't happen very often. And it's not that big deal. I charge at home most of the time. Nobody from, I'm on Purnell's Electric. Nobody from Purnell's Electric has called up and said, hey, can you shut off your car? You're pulling too much power. Well, but they did that to everybody, right? I mean, back in the big ice storm, they had rolling blackouts, right? That's the way it was. The good news is they would turn off your power for an hour and turn it back on for 2 or 3. So at least you weren't absolutely freezing. We weren't. I mean, other people suffered much worse, but there you go. So get over it. Come on, man. Okay, so I have heard that some people say, well, I wasn't even aware of an EV. And let's be fair. If you were to ask me 10 years ago, the only EVs I knew about were Nissan Leafs. Now, a friend had told me about her Tesla Model S, but when I asked her about price, she just stopped talking. If she had just spoke up and said, here's what's going on, I would have listened. Okay? So, part of my job is to talk to people. If you ask, I'll tell you. Now, some people don't believe me. So I have it here on my YouTube video channel right now, right? So you know I have a channel. There you go. So I publish how much energy I'm using, how difficult it was to drive there. I do that all the time. Hoping that if somebody comes across it, they find the answer they're looking for. That's the best I can hope for. Okay? But surely, Ford and Chevy are both advertising EVs as well. So you must have heard something, surely, hopefully. But the more people get into it, the better off we all are. Onward, upward charge. All right, so this goes with the rants, right? So one of the things I remembered finally is the government's forcing me to buy an EV. Okay, well, I can't speak to your situation, and I think most of those people are like in California, whatever it is, and they're reacting to the CARB mandates or suggestions. I've heard it both ways. I don't know. I don't live it. I don't know it. Okay? I live in Texas. Okay? Texas is an oil and gas state. Yes. That's where all the big political money comes from. Oil and gas. Okay? Yes, you may have heard that Texas had a big freeze a few years back where several people freeze to death. You can follow whichever way you want to follow it. And I'll admit, it's just a rumor, but there was a rumor that they went to Governor Abbott, who's still the governor, and said, well, we can sell natural gas at a profit in other states. Then they turned around and said, well, it's because the windmills froze, that's why we didn't have electric power. Okay? Whatever. I don't want to take any sides. I'm just saying what was said. Okay? So, but where I'm really going is this. Well, the government's forcing... Okay, I live in Texas. It is illegal for Tesla to sell cars from a Tesla dealership in Texas. Okay? How you get around it? Both of my cars came from California dealership. Okay? Our dealership's in California. He bought it out of state. Okay. Whatever. So, the government didn't force me to buy an EV. In fact, you had to work around the government regulations because, you know, those dealerships are going to suffer very badly. And they know it. So they're fighting tooth and nail to keep their businesses alive. Okay? So, the other part is the pollution mandates. Okay, but for those of you who live around Los Angeles, is your air cleaner than it was back in the 1970s? I'm sorry, I haven't tracked that progress. But that may not be a good enough reason for you to have to suffer the indignity of having an EV. Okay? So here's the other part. Not only is it illegal for Tesla to have a dealership that sells cars in Texas, anybody who sells an EV or anybody who registers an EV in Texas, the first year registration includes a $400 gas mileage tax penalty. And every year after that includes a $200 penalty registration. Because we don't pay gas tax, right? I'm not sure how many people drive enough in their gas-powered cars to have $200 of gas tax in a year, but because I drive an EV, I have a $200 gas tax. Okay, so in my case, not only is the government not forcing me to, they're actually trying to encourage me not to. Okay, this is despite the fact that using electricity gives me independence from foreign influences. What's that? Yes, you're probably not old enough to remember it. The OPEC gas war, or whatever you call it, where they stopped the gas. Okay. I came across an interesting article. This is going to make it long, but let me go. Just hold on. I came across an article that basically said the United States is the biggest exporter of oil. Why? Because the oil that the U.S. produces can't go through the U.S. refineries. That made me stop and like, wait, what? Yes, we export oil and we import oil. Because the oil we import works with our refineries. Instead of upgrading the refineries to process the oil that we have in America, we trade. And I'm pretty sure we end up on the short end of that stick. That'd be the normal U.S. government way. Okay? Or U.S. business way. whatever, peace and harmony. So, the government's not forcing me to use an EV. In fact, my government discourages using an EV. Oddly enough, I don't know, I don't get it. But Texas is always a conflicted political system, right? So I tend to think every state is somewhat like that. Okay, whatever. There are those you might say, but I don't want to support the $7,500 tax credit. You know what? My Model Y wasn't eligible for that $7,500 tax credit when it first came out because they'd already sold too many cars. And then they redid it, and now if I were to buy a new one, yes, I'd get $7,500, but I already have two. And this used one was more than $20,000, so it wasn't eligible either. Whatever. I mean, tax credits are nice, but is it the only thing? No, it's not. Hey, I just like driving this car. Okay, there you go. Okay, who have I left out? All right, there's some of you saying, oh, but I want the vehicle that's union made. Okay, buy a Ford, buy a Chevy. No problem, go for it. Doesn't bother me one bit. And one of the comments I've heard before is FSD. You know what? If you don't want to buy FSD, I get it's $12,000, right? Don't buy FSD. It's that easy. I'm not suggesting the FSD is anywhere near ready for you to use yet. So that takes care of those arguments. Okay, rant mode on again. I'm sorry. I've touched on this in other videos, but let me come back to this because for some people this is a very strong feeling. Very strong. You can't get over it. And to be fair to them, my feeling for my purse situation is fairly strong as well. Okay. There are some people who might say, oh, I can't buy a Tesla because they're anti-union. All right, so I would say it this way, Tesla's not pro-union. Okay, that's pretty clear. They would rather not have union, but you know what? If the workers want to have a union, so be it. I think the thing is, I don't know, whatever. That's getting into all the union stuff. Anyway, here's where I'm really going, okay? Do I have a Tesla because it's not pro-union or even anti-union? No. Their feelings about labor, well, that's not quite fair. So I used to work in IT. So IT is more of a merit system. If you demonstrate that you can do stuff, you get promotions and raises. And actually in a union shop to some extent they have that, but you know, if Joe Blow 1 and Joe Blow 2 and Joe Blow 3 all can put in lug nuts, they're all equal. And that's the way you see it. Right? I don't know. Okay. But here's the thing. Okay, so let's say you can't buy a Tesla because you're so fervently pro-union. I got good news for you. Ford has an F-150 Lightning. Ford has a Mach-E. GM has several vehicles. You can go buy from one of those. And believe me, they don't have much choice. They are very much mixed in with the UAW, which is a union. So if the car you drive reflects upon your feelings about labor organization, you have choices. Okay? So don't get stuck on that. We all have to live together in the same world eventually, right? Isn't that the way this works out? Okay, so there are some of you who might say, oh, but Elon insults me. Oh, come on. So here's the first part, okay? I didn't buy my car from Elon. I bought my car from Tesla. Although I guess Elon is is he the majority holder of stock? Something like that. He holds 21%, but he's not the exclusive owner of Tesla. Okay? And I didn't buy it from Elon personally. I bought it from Tesla. Because from what I've seen, Tesla makes the best EV. Hands down. Okay? So the question is, are you going to be more worried about political positions, or are you going to be more worried about the car you're driving? Okay? But on the other hand, I get it. You care more about what the CEO of a company is saying than the car you're driving. Okay? Let's say you're a Ford person. Okay? Go buy a Ford Mustang Mach-E. Okay? What? Oh, you're more into Mary Barra and GM. Okay. Go buy a Chevy. Same difference to me. The question is what makes you more comfortable? Unfortunately for those of you, yes, but Toyota is the best solution. Yes, the BZ4X is on the low end of EVs. Sorry. And that's part of what upsets me the most is Toyota had such a lead. All they had to do is build upon that lead, and they would have been far ahead of everybody else. They even worked at one time with Tesla to make an electric RAV4. That electric RAV4 uses Tesla motors and some kind of batteries. They were essentially a California compliance car, which is what the rest of us call those things. They're only meant to comply with numbers. Okay? Unfortunately, Toyota didn't pick that up and carry it forward. They would be so far ahead if they just continued. Okay, whatever. Peace and harmony. I would be remiss not to touch on this one. I have heard people say, like, oh, but electric cars are so complicated. And I'm kind of like, what's complicated? I mean, in your gas car, the gas gauge shows you should fill up, you fill up. And you drive again. You want to go forward, you put the car in drive. You want to go backwards, you put the car in reverse. And you're done, you put it in park. You want to steer left, you steer left. You want to steer right, you steer right. You want to slow down, you press the brake. You want to speed up, you press the accelerator. Right? That's all gas car. Well, guess what? Electric cars, same basic principles. So I don't know. I'm just admitting that some people have said it. And you know, I forgot what class it was, but they were talking about the concepts of the car, engineering concepts, that is. Like, how does the steering wheel work? Well, the basic concept is you turn the steering wheel and the wheels turn. Now, is there a bunch of stuff going on? Yes, there is, but you don't see it. You don't need to know it. Okay? You just need to know what the input is and what the output is. And that's all you should be focusing on. Okay, whatever. Peace and harmony. All right, so if you made it this far, this is the part where I tell you what an elite person you are if you drive an EV. I mean, it requires a certain amount of mental capacity, a certain amount of intelligence. And you just heard me say something about the complexity of the car, right? But let's face it. How do you steer your car? There's no difference between steering a gas car and an electric car. I mean, yes, there are a couple of pickups that have rear-wheel drive tied in, which complicates things. But you don't look at any of that. You just know that you turn the wheel and the car turns. And that's all you should be thinking about in that respect. Okay? Don't You don't have to think through all the engineering hurdles that had to occur for it to happen. Okay? If you want to slow down, I mean, yes, the one pedal driving makes a difference. You have to think about it a little bit more, but it's the same basic thing. You want to slow down, you push on the brake. You want to go faster, you press on the accelerator. You want to turn left, you turn left on the steering wheel. You want to turn right, you turn right on the steering wheel. You want to make a left turn, you turn your left turn signal. You want to turn right, you turn your right turn signal. Okay? All basic stuff. If your battery gauge indicates you're running low on energy, you start thinking about, well, do I have enough to make it to where I'm going? And when do I need to charge? But I tell you, I don't even think about that. Now, when I drive into Austin, I know I have enough. I know I have enough range as long as I've charged up overnight to make it there. And when I come back, if it's below 50%, or if I'm going to need more energy in the morning, I'll plug in. It's that easy. That's simple. Nothing to it. Okay, what am I missing? Oh, it's shifting, right? Whatever car it is, if you want to go forward, you put it in drive. If you want to go backwards, you put it in reverse. And of course, there's park. Now, to be fair to everybody else, yes, if you drive a Tesla, there's so much automation in a Tesla, it does a lot of stuff for you. So you may not think about all of it. You're right. But get over it. But here's where I'm going is there are so many people, well, I can't handle it. Yes, you're right. You can't handle it. I agree. I doubt you lack the intelligence to handle it. I mean, if you're driving a gas car, it's very similar. Oh, are there some paradigm shifts? Yes, there are. What's that? Oh, my phone acts as the key to the car. And I've even had people say, well, how do you shut it off? It's like, you just get out of the car. Okay? That's all it is. You come to the car, the phone unlocks the car, you get in, put your foot on the brake, the car starts up. Okay? You pull up to wherever you're going to stop, put it in park, you get out of the car turns off. Nothing to it. Okay? But there are those people who think it requires a lot of intelligence, okay, to drive the car. I don't know why, but here's what I'm saying. If you own an EV, just accept the compliment that you're more intelligent than most people. Even if you don't think you are, even if you know better, just go with it. Okay? And, at some point, maybe people will get over it and it'll become more boring. That's what I hope. I hope eventually this all gets to be boring, normal stuff. That's what it should be. Okay? But it's never quite as easy as you want it to be, is it? Okay. So for those of you who are driving EVs, it's your responsibility to, if somebody asks you a question, you answer it best you can. Okay? If you do social media stuff, you put up some videos or whatever explaining the basic details. Okay? Just like I'm doing. Okay? You don't have to go as crazy as I'm going. No. But it does help if you share how normal your EV is. Okay, there you go. You all are doing good. Thank you. Okay, so while I was thinking through this, I came up with a statement. I mean, it's stealing from the Marine Corps, but here we go. The few, the proud, the owner of an EV. How about that, huh? All right, so there is a group, and I'll give you that there's not an exact solution for you all at this time on a broad scale, okay? And that's the people who rent or live in an apartment. Now, if I lived in an apartment, I'd be going down to the management saying, hey, can we do some kind of thing for level 2 charging? That's all you need is level 2 charging. That's why I have it at home. I have level 2 charging. Okay? But I'll give you, that could be a problem. Now, if you live inside the city of Austin, you can join up a program in the city of Austin, and for, what, $5 a month or something? Something ridiculous. You can charge up on their level 2s all you want. So, look, if you're in that situation, look around, see what's available to you. You might find a solution that works for you.